Welcome to the OddsBreakers, #1 place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 50 of 2021. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev. Follow us at the OddsBreakers and follow us on social media / the OddsBreakers. This episode is being brought to you by footballcontest.com. To get into the Circa, the Westgate, or the new William Hill College football contest, please visit footballcontest.com. Tell Maddie the OddsBreakers sent you. If you'd like to help us out with our costs and sponsor the website and the podcast, we love to help you out. Please visit the oddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. For $24.99 a month, you can still get my plays and premium plays before the line moves, before any rate increases. And you can also check out our other handicappers at theoddsbreakers.com. And if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. My friends, we have a fantastic show for you today. Doug Upstone from Doc Sports is coming on to talk a little NFL with me and talk about some season win totals and any other bets that he thinks might have some value for the 2021 NFL season. Excited for that. We obviously have a huge UFC event coming up this weekend. UFC 265, Lewis versus Cyril Gane, and that's going to be a massive fight. And I already have a couple free plays for you guys to give out towards the end of this show. A couple things I wanted to cover before Doug comes on. As far as free picks, we now have a good amount of handicappers that give out free picks, and you might be getting too many emails. A couple things you can do is obviously you can make a rule for anything from the OddsBreakers goes into a separate folder. That's what I do for plays I get from my friends, my handicappers, and people that I respect. So I can kind of just go through them like that. Or what we are doing is adding an email subscription button for each handicapper to use. For example, if you want to just get golf picks from Patrick, you could only sign up for his email newsletter at theoddsbreakers.com. If you want to just get stuff from me rather than everybody, you can just sign up for my email newsletters at theoddsbreakers.com. This should be ready by the end of the day Friday. So basically you can still get emails from everybody, or you can just get ones from the handicappers that you would like to follow. You can obviously do both. Now, as far as signing up with the oddsbreakers.com, football is upon us. We've been very profitable at the oddsbreakers.com in the preseason, so it'd be a good time to lock in that $24.99 rate if you want to check me out. We are also running a promotion. If you want to sign up for premium plays and support us from any of our handicappers, you will get a free OddsBreakers t-shirt shipped to you upon sign up. If you'd like to check out what they look like, please go to the oddsbreakers.com, click shop. I want to remind everybody that we are going to be continuing with a minimum of 2 podcasts per week from me at the oddsbreakers.com. Chris is going to sprinkle in a few of his podcasts as well. And if you guys are a capper, or if you have any questions about joining the oddsbreakers.com, we'd like to hear from you. Please feel free to contact us on Twitter at the OddsBreakers or our website, contact us at the oddsbreakers.com. Without further ado, let's get into a little NFL 2021 with our guy, Doug Upstone. And now I'm very excited to welcome back a very experienced professional handicapper and longtime friend of our show. Very pleased to bring on Mr. Doug Upstone from DocSports.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Doug Upstone. Doug, I know you have been very, very busy, so I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come back on the show, my man.
Well, when I get a call from Kiev, I drop everything. I mean, it's just, it's time to go. All right. So that's no problem. Hey, I'm always honored to be here. And we always have a lot of fun. A couple of jokes here and there. Some are funny, some aren't, but you got to put the effort in, right?
Oh, man, for sure. I appreciate the needless flattery there, but anyways, lots going on. Your summer, I watch all your videos on YouTube and everything. Always great and professional and great stuff. Lots to talk about here in the NFL, of course, and you're a perfect guy to come on because you've had such impeccable records, Doug. So very happy for that. Has your summer been treating you all right?
Yeah, everything's been great. Went to LA and San Diego for a week and had a great time and did just a bunch of stuff. So it was a nice getaway. Let's put it that way. And didn't have to wear masks yet. So that was even better.
Yeah. Well, we're crossing our fingers here. We'll see while the uncertainty happens. But anyways, I have a question for you right off the bat here.
Sure.
Man. And I'm a Bears fan, and in your past, in your fandom life, you might have been a Packers fan. Not sure how much you care now because, that's what happens to us sports bettors. We get a little bit grisly around the edges after the years. But the Packers, I'm sure, still have a place in your heart. What do you think about this whole Aaron Rodgers situation here, and how did it affect your thoughts?
Yeah, well, to answer the first thing you asked, actually, as obviously, like you say, you change as you do this, but I am still a season ticket holder of the Packers, dating back to 1985 when they played in Milwaukee. And so I still like the Packers, no question about it. And and when they do well, that's fine. I'm happy. And when they're terrible, which they were for a long period there, made a lot of money betting against them. So when you do this, that's how that goes. But the Aaron Rodgers thing, I'll answer your question on two levels. Number one, as odd as it was, because I saw people with either Packer hats or T-shirts in L.A. and San Diego, 5 different people. And, so I said, hey, I'm from Wisconsin, blah, blah, blah. I said, so what's the take, from the state? And every one of them said, everybody's fed up. Now, this was 3 weeks ago before he officially came back. Everybody said they were fed up with Aaron Rodgers and they were all ready to move on to Jordan Love. And there was no hesitation in what anybody said. So I thought that was really interesting. And what was interesting about that to me is because, you have 2 back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and you're just willing to say, okay, we think we're going to get a third maybe. Well, that ain't going to happen, of course, because it's never happened in the history of the NFL, and it's not going to happen this time. In fact, this is only the 3rd time it's ever happened, in the history of the NFL where you had back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks. So, I think the Packers front office blew it. I think Rodgers was selfish, and here we are. From that standpoint, I think we just all have to move on from it. It seems like Rodgers kind of is. However, from the sports wagering perspective, if you're asking me that question, I'll say I don't think it's going to matter at all. I think they're going to play, and I think if they're good enough, they'll have a great season. If they don't, and the rust from not having practiced, basically the entire offseason, at least in an organized fashion, I think that the wrath of the Packer fans is going to come down on Rodgers.
Oh yeah, sure, it certainly will, and so they better do good, right? And of course, from my follow-up question, it was from a sports. Should it matter from a sports wagering perspective? And my answer is no, it's not. And to be honest with you, I don't even think the time off matters for Rodgers. I mean, he's a seasoned veteran there. There's quarterbacks that need that offseason. I don't think after all these years, especially a couple years under LaFleur already, he doesn't need that. And they still have their good defense there that was pretty solid last year until a couple hiccups, obviously, against Tampa, which was some of their play calling, really. And I think that their offensive line is still there. They still got Aaron Jones. Last time I checked, Devontae Adams is there. I don't think they need much time at all. So from a sports wagering perspective, I think it's completely fine. Now, coming into the season, I wasn't quite as high on Green Bay, but what I've always said is, like, if Jordan Love did start, I think there'd be an overreaction to that. And if, Green Bay, I'm not saying they're going to win 12, 13 games either, right? So I think that the only thing that could affect is his attitude. I mean, he might have some nonchalant isms that the other team can kind of read into, and not sure if that's going to stick its head out or not. But right now, going into it, I'm just going to treat them where I have them power rated as the second or third best team,
Yeah.
So that's the best way to do it, I think.
And it's pretty obvious when he McCarthy's last year. I mean, it was pretty obvious, kind of some of the looks that he gave and whatever. So he tries to pretend or tries to act like he doesn't care about a lot of stuff, but he obviously, that passive aggressive mindset is definitely part of his being.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and I guess his players probably already knew that, and I don't think this was something that's anything new. He probably always kind of felt a little bit of grievance against management and Wolf over there, and Goot and some of the other guys. So, in my opinion, that's always been there and nothing new. What I do know is he did post the Last Dance type thing with Pippen and Jordan, and him and Adams both did that. So it's kind of like, well, this is going to be our last shot. So as a Packer fan, you're kind of crossing your fingers this year because it doesn't seem like they're going to come back on any terms.
The front offices too, by the way. Yeah, because they don't want him to go. Right. There's nothing positive about him leaving. Let's put it that way.
That's for sure. Well, let's move on then. Talk a little bit about preseason. Obviously, the first game is tonight. Well, by the time people get this podcast, it's going to be already passed. But preseason football is something I've been successful betting, and same with you. And what I want to ask you is some of the best methods that you incorporate when you handicap the NFL preseason for some of our listeners.
Sure. And the big thing that everybody needs to know is that it's going to be vastly different, and it's going to take at least a year to figure it out, going to 3 games with the possibility of going to 2 in the future, because the traditional, let's say, way of how it was viewed, it was week 3 was the dress rehearsal for the season. And that's kind of, in some instances, has even broken down a little bit. For example, the last couple of years, New England has used week 2, and a couple other teams have. So that has really changed, the viewpoint. So what it comes down to, I think you got to keep it simple, and that's exactly the only way I have ever done this. For me, the winning keys are follow coaching trends. Some coaches care, some people don't. Some coaches don't in the preseason. Number 2, I look for teams that are coming off double-digit wins or losses, because I think motivation in August is a big thing. And so teams that just got beat and are having to go through rotten practices with their coaches yelling at them and everything, they're more motivated. And conversely, if some team blows out another one, sometimes the coach will let off the gas pedal because he doesn't want his team to peak, going into week 1. So I think that's another thing. And then lastly, and I've started to really follow this the last couple of years, a lot of different teams have scrimmages now against other teams. So instead of playing games against certain opponents, if they have regional situations where they can scrimmage against a foe, is that read the outcomes of those types of games. And sometimes it comes out over like 2 or 3 days. Read about those because you can really learn a lot about where the team is headed. And coaches today put so much emphasis on these scrimmages that going into September, you can make some money by following that information.
Yeah, for 100%. Some of these teams are close to each other, and they might be division rivals. But you got New England there with the New York Giants, not terribly far. And obviously Miami and Jacksonville is a little bit farther, but there's situations where they could meet in the middle. Tampa Bay right there, right? Texas teams, Houston and Dallas could possibly meet up. So keep your eye on that. We're not sure if COVID's going to change any of that, but that's an important, very important consideration. Great stuff there, Doug. Just want to add one thing to that. I agree with everything you said. First of all, coaching motivation, number 1. We did a whole podcast on that. We did a whole article about coaching records at theoddsbreakers.com that you can check out. But sometimes when teams have a quarterback controversy, they might try a little bit harder. It's really the quarterbacks battling it out. If I'm a second string quarterback and I'm not too worried about it, yeah, I'm going to try. but sometimes when there's quarterback battle, they're scoring more points throughout the whole game. So I tend to look at that a little bit too, Doug.
Sure. Absolutely. No. And, like you said, you've had a lot of success, and so have I. When I came up with the basic method that I follow, I've won 15 of the last 19 preseasons. So it's been good. Like I said, though, I think one of the biggest things, keep it simple.
There you go. 100%. Keep it simple. Well, let's move on to my next question. And this is kind of just off the wall a little bit. You don't have to have any massive definition on why you think this, but give me a team in the NFL that didn't make the playoffs last year that you think could, or you might even have them penciled in to making it this year.
I like that question, actually. And now, as you say that, immediately, I'm going to give you two.
Right.
With that, and a quick synopsis on both Dallas and San Francisco. The Dallas defense can't be any worse than it was last year. They're in a weak division. They offensively, still have a strong team. I think Prescott's, I'm going to say it's a minor problem right now with his throwing shoulder. So I like them. San Francisco was in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. A lot of talent, probably a little more offensive talent than what they had before. Garoppolo, not a great quarterback, but he's certainly above average. I like both to reach the playoffs.
Oh, look at this. 9.5 and 10 season win total on there. Take the obvious ones, Doug. Come on, man.
Now, what's your question? Did you say, hey, I want to add a caveat to this?
I know. I should have said you can go on a limb if you want, but no. That's probably the best answers, really. I mean, I'm fading the Cowboys under the 9.5 personally, but I mean, expectation wise, you nailed it. San Fran. 10 juice to the over in a lot of these books for season wins, and that's the best answer. 100%. I agree. I'm just busting your balls. A little.
No, I'm glad. If you're gonna dish it out, you got to be able to take it too. So I'm always good to go for that.
Awesome. And well, I'm gonna give you two then myself, and one I did make the bet on, and it is the Carolina Panthers. The fact that they're in the East Coast and they play the NFC East for their NFC conference, they have to play the whole NFC East and the AFC East, and they're in Carolina. There's not much travel there, right? Their whole conference plays that. And their at-large games are a third-place schedule. I know that they have some issues that on defense and their quarterback we're not sure about, right? We don't know if he's going to improve or not. He looked terrible on the Jets last year. But I like Matt Rule, and I like their situation. So I like them to make the playoffs. And I'm going to go with the Chargers, with Herbert there. I think that the Chargers did great with what they signed for their coach. I like how they got Lombardi as their offensive coordinator, who is a Sean Payton person. And I also like the fact that they have a third-place schedule themselves, because the Raiders were actually, I believe, second place in the AFC West, if I'm not wrong, last year. So even though it's really public, because a lot of public is on the Chargers, that's when I do agree with them. So I think Carolina and the Chargers will make it, Doug.
Well, Captain Obvious, I think your Chargers pick is right on.
All right, good stuff. And I know some people are picking Atlanta from the other side, and I can't disagree too much with that. I just don't like where Atlanta's defense is still, but we'll see what happens.
Got to come around for sure. Yep.
And I would really need a New Orleans tank job this year too, and they did lose a lot of people. There's no Drew Brees, so I have to bank on that. But as I said before, Sean Payton's stolen money from me before. So
yeah, no, well, I to be honest with you, that's one that that crosses my mind as well. I mean, it's the turnover. It doesn't take much. We see it year after year in the NFL. Things can get sideways real quick, and I don't know. I mean, let's put it this way: if New Orleans, goes 8-9, I wouldn't be shocked.
No, I wouldn't be shocked either. I bet them under 9. And the reason I did is obviously Breeze. I don't like that they have a quarterback controversy a little bit there with Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston, right? I don't like that. I don't like how they lost Trey Hendrickson, defensive end. He signed a 4-year deal for $60 million with Cincinnati. Janoris Jenkins, their cornerback, gone to Tennessee. Sheldon Rankins, their defensive tackle, gone to the Jets. You know, there's a couple other of them. Justin Hardy, a cornerback. Emmanuel Sanders is gone, and now Michael Thomas is going to miss at least 6 weeks. You know, the best player. That's bad.
That's tough.
Jared Cook's not there. Is there safety net? Yeah, man. I just think they're going to be shallow. They're going to be kind of a shell, and if people get injured, they're going to be in a little trouble. So that's why I'm going towards the Carolina side. Well, let's talk about this then. Same type of question, Doug. Which NFL team made the playoffs last year but might not this year?
Okay, I'm saying this. I'm gonna try it, but just give me a second, and don't criticize me for it though this time, okay?
my Bears, right?
No, actually, that was one of them. But no, I like another one. I'm gonna just go with one here. So because I'm a guest, so I want to be a good guest at the same time.
Be nice.
Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger, he's done. Okay. I don't care if he lost 25 pounds and he's the best shape of his life, all this other stuff. His arm's not going to last over the entire season. Okay. The deep ball, you might see it the first month. It's going to be just like last year. It's not going to be there. I think this team it's on its way down. Cleveland obviously is on the rise. Baltimore's still solid. Pittsburgh's 7-10, looking on the outside.
Yeah, they do have a hard schedule, don't they? And they replace some linemen there, and their outlook isn't so great. And no, that's a good one because a lot of people are going against it and saying, why is people so low on Pittsburgh? All they do is win. They have Mike Tomlin still there. Last time I checked, Big Ben's still there. So no, it's good to hear that. It's not like going out on a massive limb to say that because, Pittsburgh's always been there. So I agree with you there. So for me, I mean, to be honest with you, I'd probably even have to say my Bears because here's the thing. I did bet them over like the 7 or 7.5 win total, and maybe they get to 8, maybe they get to 9. But to make the playoffs is still harder when there's 17 games, and they still have their schedule is a second place at large schedule, which isn't as good as the Vikings. And even though I have them 6-1 to make the playoffs, I mean, my first choice would probably be the Bears to miss it. And it sucks, but just going by the numbers and the fact that Dalton could be bad, and I don't like Nagy so much, that there's a possibility. Now, I also see a possible high ceiling. Justin Fields can come in there, and all of a sudden the team can figure it out. There's a ceiling there that's higher, but out of all these teams, it's probably the Bears for me. And I hate to say it, even though I like them over 7.5 wins, that would be one of them. And I'm not sure about Cleveland, man. And, well, Indianapolis with the Carson Wentz thing, that worries me. But Cleveland, their Pythagorean win expectation was lower than half their games. It wasn't even 8 based on 16 games, right? And that worries me a little bit too. They're outscored in total points last year. Now, there's a couple outliers there. They got blown out by Pittsburgh and by Baltimore. So, if you take that out, but still, a lot of people high on Cleveland. We're not sure. A lot of talent on that roster, but I'll go with the Bears number 1, and I'll go with Cleveland and the Colts number 2 tied.
There you go. All right. That sounds good.
All right, good stuff. So even though I'm a fan, I have to go against my fandom when it comes to sports betting. I think that's a rule that everybody should follow. And what I've always said, Doug, is why would you not bet against or even for the team you study most, the team you read about most, because you have the most information, right?
Right. And one thing I would like to throw out too, is we're talking about this, is looking at win totals in general. And so if you make bets on win totals, is that don't let that prejudice yourself in making selections once the season starts, because those are two different things. Okay, you're gonna if you're when your win totals, you're not going to get paid after week 1. You're going to get paid at the end of the season if you're right. But if you lose by following a certain methodology in your thought process and week 1, well, you might end up losing both. So consider those two things separate entities. Don't let that influence your decision.
Mutually exclusive is what I used for that term before, And thank you for stressing that, because I can't stress that for enough. A lot of people do that with fantasy football. They have their fantasy quarterback going. They don't want to fade that team because they think no, that spells disaster when that happens. Pick your spots for everybody. No reason a quarterback still can't have a great game and still lose and not cover the spread. So keep that in mind. Let's go to the divisions then, Doug, and we're going by season win totals. Now, I don't want to read off every single team because that's just boring, and I think that's Bush League stuff. But all I want to ask you is if you made a play, or if you like a season win total or a future in these divisions, and if you took it at a number that's not there, you can just mention it, or I can look it up to see if the number's still there as well.
Yeah, no, I have thoughts on a variety of these, and I will let everybody know of ones that are opinions and ones that are actual bets that have been placed.
Fantastic.
So we'll just keep that. Yeah, nice and clean, and I got all the numbers.
All right, sounds good. Let's start right away with the NFC North then, and obviously the Packers' season win total, I'm sure, went up. And since Rodgers, obviously, it was kind of sitting at 9 for a while. And then, it goes to Minnesota, then Chicago, then Detroit. Do you have any thoughts in the NFC North?
I do, and you're going to be shocked. You better hang on if you got handles on your chair, just hang on for a second, all right? This is my opinion. The Chicago Bears over 8.5 on this one. Wow. The thing I'm looking at here, I think the defense slid a little bit last year. The numbers weren't horrible, but when they played against good quarterbacks, they often couldn't get off the field. I think they'll be stronger this year on defense, and I think they're going to be back as a top 5 defense again. I also think I know Bear fans hate Nagy. I'm not saying he's the best coach, but he's fighting for his life now. And because he has a play-action quarterback like Andy Dalton, that's how the offense is going to be built around. That will also help the offensive line, and that will make the running game stronger. I'm looking at this team. They sweep Detroit. They split with the Vikings. They take care of business at home against the Bengals, Giants, and Arizona, and they go on the road against the Raiders. And there, the Bears are going to win 9 games and maybe even 10, depending.
Wow. Yeah, I almost fell down off my seat. I was holding on to my seat, but I almost fell over on my back. That's the problem right now. That's great stuff. And 7.5 is where I see it in most books. Maybe you meant 7.5. Over is even like plus money at 7.5 on some of these.
Oh, it's funny because I saw an 8.5 today, as a matter of fact.
See, shop these around because
that's so important.
Because it's really... You're actually getting value betting both sides of that, believe it or not. It's as long as it goes through the 4.55% threshold, look for a 9 even, right? Or look for a 7, because if you shop these around, good stuff there. But that means you're pretty optimistic on it. I feel a lot better about my over 7.5 when you said that, Doug. So thank you. Anything else? Anything else in the North?
No. That's for the NFC North. That's the one thing that stood out to me, and that's what I'm sticking with.
All right, Packers are up to 10 wins, juice to the over at -130. So let's move on to the NFC South then, and I'll start. I did take the Saints under 9. Let's see if that's changed a little bit here. It's juiced to the under -125, possibly because of the Thomas injury. I still like that number if you guys want to take it. Do you have any thoughts on the South?
Yeah, I'm going to talk about the Super Bowl champs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Buccaneers now are the hunted. Okay, so that's one thing right off the bat. Most assume that Tom Brady at this point, he's immune to aging. Well, maybe yes, maybe no. But if he had supposedly that knee injury, that had surgery. This team has all 22 starters back. How do they not repeat? Okay, they're playing a lousy division. Carolina's you think they might be somewhat improved. Okay, but they're still rebuilding. New coaching staff in Atlanta. New Orleans doesn't have Drew Brees, so everything should be going their way. Well, you know what? Every single year, the NFL champions have to face great obstacles. Okay, they had a lot of things go their way, and now they're going to get everybody's best shot every single week. Tampa Bay has 9 road games, and if you look at their schedule, none of them is easy. Now, can Can Tampa Bay still actually win a Super Bowl based on their talent and everything? Yes, but I'm looking at this team to go 11-6 for the record. They should win the division yet again, but that's going to put them under the 11.5.
And you get some plus money under 11.5. You can probably find a 12 if you feel a little scared about that. Interesting. I don't have them under, but I don't want to bet them over either, because Brady is the kind of guy, if they get that first win, he just wants to get to the playoffs. You know, he's cool about limping in because he thinks he takes care of business, which he's proven that he can when he gets to the playoffs. Clearly. So I don't like hangover years either. So I'm just going to stay away from that one. But like I said before, my only other play is for Carolina to make the playoffs at plus 275. Let's move on to the NFC East, and I'm excited to hear what you have for this one.
Well, I think you intimated something that you did, and I bet this myself. The Dallas Cowboys are coming off a 6-10 season under Mike McCarthy. The only place for them to go is up. The division is weak. Some people like Washington somewhat. They're still, they still were 8-8 last year, or no, 7-9. Excuse me, they were 7-9 last year. But the number I'm seeing is 10.5 and. Excuse me, 9.5. And do I really think the Cowboys are going to get to 10? I don't think so. Dak Prescott, the offensive line will be healthier. He's probably going to be okay in terms of health. The offense will score. But there's the defense coming off a historically poor season, okay, in which they second most rushing yards given up ever. Okay, since 1960, most total yards given up. Defensive coordinator was a disaster. The defense is moving to a 4-3 instead of a 3-4 because they're trying to take care of the business at hand with the talent that they have. Up his game at middle linebacker because he was horrible last year after signing that big contract. They got road games at Tampa, at the Chargers, at New England, at Kansas City. We've known for years that Dallas is a so-so home team. I think they win the division at 9-8 and come in on the under.
Come in on the under 9.5, yet they still win the division.
Yes.
All right, man. Oh, that's interesting. You kind of got you're playing two sides of the coin there. Almost going for a middle type situation, right? So I did play the Cowboys under 9.5, and I still like it. I think that I don't like McCarthy at all. I don't think he's a great coach, and maybe their defense does step up a little bit. But they did lose a Woozy at cornerback. He was signed by Cincinnati. It seems like Cincinnati's, stealing everybody. They lost their tackle, Cameron Irving. They lost, not terrible free agency. Joe Thomas, inside linebacker, I guess, was kind of a backup. So nothing big with them. It's all about their coach for me. And I'm not a big Dak Prescott guy. I don't think they fixed their offensive line. As a matter of fact, I didn't see them go out and sign anybody, and they even lost one of those people. So I'm concerned a little bit for this team. I actually like Washington at the plus 250, and I also took the Giants at plus 515. So as long as I'm kind of playing against the Eagles and Dallas by doing it this way to win the division. But
there you go.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the NFC West. And wow, this division is pretty stacked, isn't it?
Yeah, just like last year. I mean, there's a lot going on here, and I already gave the the toothpaste is out of the tube on this one already because I said San Francisco is going to be one team to make the playoffs, so that's what I'm looking at. San Francisco over 10. As I said, 1 year removed, I think they'll be reinvigorated. I think, like I said, Garoppolo, an okay quarterback, but their offensive line might be the best in the NFL again, can be totally domineering. They got so many options in the backfield at running back, and they have a type of receiving core that fits Garoppolo's skill set. And I think last year's experience was humbling for Kyle Shanahan, so I think he's going to come back smarter and wiser going forward. I think the defense might not be as good as it's been the last couple of years, but I still think it's good enough for them to win 11 games, and I'll take them for the over.
Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay, who do you got?
That's a good one.
Isn't it? Isn't that a good one?
That's a great question. Yes, absolutely. I honestly can't even come up with a solid answer for you.
I thought about it. I couldn't either.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, because I'm not, both of them have learned some lessons. And so I think maybe the best way to answer that question is let's see after this season.
There you go. 1A and 1B right now. I mean, I think your top 3-4 coaches, you got Andy Reid and Belichick there. Maybe they're the next two. That's how much respect I have for Shanahan,
Yep.
And Harbaugh's right there too, I guess. Tomlin's kind of creeping lately. I like San Fran. I just don't know why they did this with their quarterback. You can tell in that Super Bowl in 2020 against Kansas City that they didn't trust Garoppolo in the end of the second half. They had 2 minutes there. They had timeouts. What are you doing? That made me scratch my head, and it really helped me hit my first half under. So thank God he did that. but still, it told me everything there. But does that mean you start with a rookie like Trey Lance, who missed every game except I think they played one game because of COVID the last year, and he was in the FCS, and he looks big, he looks the part, but geez, man, that's a risk. I almost think they should have maybe drafted a playmaker like Kyle Pitts instead. Just roll the dice with that guy you just spent $20 million on, right? I'm still scratching my head about that, and I don't know if it was the right call, and that's the only reason I'm not taking their over. But dude, anybody in this division wouldn't shock me to win it. And I would pick the Rams or the Niners, probably one to win it. Now, Seattle, I'm not as high on because of their defense. I still think they didn't fix anything there. Not much anyway. And they just rely on Russell Wilson way too much. And Arizona wouldn't shock me, but they still didn't fix their run defense, in my opinion. So, and they have the worst coach in the division, you could say, too, in my opinion. So, yeah, man, I'm not going to agree or disagree with you there. Good stuff. Great breakdowns. Let's go to the AFC North here then. Obviously, you already winked your eye on the Steelers, which you're doing possibly with them. I'm staying away with any plays personally. So, what do you got?
Well, this is going to be in disagreement with what you said earlier. I'm looking at the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns, as we know, went 11-5 last year. It was their first winning season since 2007 and just their third positive year since they returned as the 2.0 Cleveland Browns in 1999 with the previous group under Art Modell, or Art the gambler Modell, okay, the owner of the team then, when he took them to Baltimore in 1996. But now, finally, I think everything is going in the right direction. I understood exactly what you said, and I understand the rationale behind your thinking. But as you said, in my opinion, I think that they have the right general manager. I think they have the right coach in Kevin Stefanski. So I look at where they're going. Yes, they had some bad losses last year, but their offense, and especially the offensive line, if San Francisco's is the best, Cleveland's at worst in the top 5. The thing that I like too is that they now, with the running game and with the with healthier receivers, Baker Mayfield, I do not believe is a elite quarterback. I think he's a top 10 quarterback, but what he is, he's a top 5 quarterback when you look at how he throws the ball in play action passing. That's his real strength as a quarterback. And so the offense in the second half of the year was geared towards that because of that running game. Now, their defense, I thought, was overrated last year, and there's some of their rankings kind of proved that out on TV. They kept saying how great their defense was. I never quite figured that out. But I think they made enough changes. I think the defense will get stronger as the season goes along. So I like this franchise, the Cleveland Browns, to be on the rise to win the AFC North with a 12-5 record and take the over, Kiev.
Wow. Take the over when you have powerhouses like Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Wow, that's a bold statement. I like it. I like some of their schedule. I like the fact that they have, I believe, a third place schedule, meaning their at-large games are a little bit easier.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's pretty cool. I don't like the fact that they're playing the NFC West, but the whole division has to play the NFC West. It's not just them. So all the talent in the world this team has, but in my opinion, I think they feel like the Brooklyn Nets to me a little bit. I don't know why. They feel like that team was just overloaded with the divas and the talent, and then something's just going to go south. I don't know. Kitchens did some good stuff last year, but he has not proved to me that he can be a Harbaugh or Tomlin level, in my opinion. So that's why I see a high ceiling and a lower floor for Cleveland. So it's okay to have a little disagreement here. That's good.
Absolutely
Good stuff, man. Let's move on to the next division there, and the AFC South, where you have two good teams, or great even almost, and two really bad teams. But then obviously with the Wentz injury, and now they lost, I think, their guard for the same injury, right? What's his name? Starts with a Q.
Don't recall.
I'll think of it later. What are your thoughts of the AFC South?
It's I think it's a big mess, and it's been made messier by the Wentz injury. I guess nobody, you can't really be surprised. The only surprise it happened so soon, I guess. So Houston at 4. Is anybody sold that Houston's going to win 5 games?
No,
I mean, so
no.
yeah. Tennessee, it's got, they have their issues, especially on defense. I don't know. To me, it's a tough one. So I'm looking at it this way. I'm just trying to keep it simple here yet again. I think if they make a trade for Nick Foles, okay, and they get him, and even with the injury, I think there's enough on that offensive line, and I have enough faith and trust in Frank Reich to get the job done. If they sign him, and you at that moment can go to any sports book and see them at 9, I'd take Indianapolis over 9 in that division.
I took over 10 before the Wentz injury, and the Quentin Nelson. That's his name, the guard, Quentin Nelson, right? And then now everything has changed, right? And then now it gives a little boost to the Titans here. And the Titans are I was trying to search it here, and of course, computer starts going nuts. The Titans are now higher, obviously, at, they're pulled off the board here on this one. But the Colts, you said, are 9, so we'll go with that number. I lean over for sure. Now, here's the problem with Foles. What if they bring Foles in? How is Wentz going to feel about this? Like, the guy that stole the thunder from him in Philly with Frank Reich comes back to haunt him again, man. Oh, God, isn't that just make you feel icky?
Well, the only person getting injured is him. Okay. Well, actually, so did Foles in Jacksonville when he had his chance. So it seems like these two guys are just star-crossed in some fashion or manner. But the Indianapolis, the defense, was generally better last year or better than had been the last couple of years. So that's a positive for them. They still have, the running game. They still have the passing game. I think there's enough there. And, Houston and Jacksonville don't really offer anything. So that looks like 4 wins right off the top, split with Tennessee. So that's 5-1, then you're kind of on your way. So that's kind of how I'm looking at them.
I thought about Phillip Rivers coming back from retirement just for half the season or something. Or maybe he can duke it. If he does great, maybe they keep him there. And, that's another situation I would rather have than Foles. Foles was terrible with the Bears last year. But they don't have a lot of choices. They got Jacob Eason. And then, of course, what's his name from Jacksonville that just got replaced? The mustache.
Oh, yeah.
Gardner Minshew. He's the other name that everybody's talking about. So, for me, it'd be the best case if Rivers did come back and decide to compete, but he feels pretty retired to me, so I doubt that happens. Great stuff. The Titans, I think they have really improved their offense, but their offense was already pretty good, and I didn't like how they lost Johnny Smith, so their defense was the issue last year. Let's see if that changes. I prefer the Colts defense by a lot. Let's move on to the AFC East with the New England Patriots, Jets, Buffalo Bills, and the barely missing the playoffs with 10 wins, Miami Dolphins.
Well, Kiev, in all honesty, or I should say, in relationship to honesty and integrity, which is something that me, Doug Upstone, speaking in the third person, likes to pride myself on. I think the sports books did an absolutely great job on all the season win totals on this one, and so I'm going to pass on this. But because I'm a guest on your outstanding podcast, I bring gifts. So here's my gift if this works out. If Buffalo only manages to only manages to lose 3 games again like they did last year, okay, when the playoffs start, you can mark my words, I will be betting on them to be the AFC champions. That's a promise if they're healthy.
Okay, so you're going to just hold and not even make that bet until later, which they'll probably be 3-1 if that happens because you still got the Chiefs there, right? And okay, and that's the way you should play because the numbers suck in general for all these futures. So thanks for the tease there. I like Buffalo, and I think they do take the step forward. I just don't like their prices. So I'm going to wait on them a little bit and see if I can sniff around a better price on the AFC championship because I like them as well. And it's like Sean McDermott to be coach of the year because he got snubbed last year. So I think I got 16-1. Somebody I know got 30-1. Shop that around too. So that's what I was looking at in that division. But you're right. I think the numbers are very good. And the Patriots, they spent the most money in the offseason. Belichick's got probably a lot of motivation seeing Tom Brady win it without him last year. So I'm concerned for them, but at the same time, I don't think Cam's the answer, and I think Mac Jones is going to start at some point. So that's my only thoughts in that division.
Yeah, I have to agree.
All right, good stuff. Let's go on to the final division here then, the AFC West. And obviously the Kansas City Chiefs have been ruling that place for the last 3-4 years, but there's a few other teams knocking on the door. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I like Kansas City in this spot, and I have an opinion on the other because something changed. But Kansas City, they have something to prove. They felt that the Super Bowl result was a fluke based on the offensive line being in tatters. The front office went out and addressed that situation. So I think Mahomes will not be running for his life going into this season. The defense, I still think has to improve, but I think they got some potential now at linebacker. And if they can shore up the 21st ranked run defense, I think this team will only be on the rise. They get challenged early. They got Cleveland, the Chargers, and Buffalo, but those are all at Arrowhead. The only toughest early road game is at Baltimore, who they've handled in the past. The Raiders don't impress me. Denver doesn't impress me. Chargers better. Not enough. At 12.5, I'll take Kansas City to go 13-4 and go for the over.
Ooh, 13-4. That's big. Well, I mean, it's hard to bet against Mahomes.
Right.
Mahomes, he's magical, and he does just stupid good plays, right? Just absolutely crazy. How long he keeps doing this? I don't know. He's still young. Do you expect him to not do it? I don't know.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's somebody. They asked somebody who's I can't remember the receiver's name. They asked what it's like to catch passes from Aaron Rodgers, a younger receiver, and he says, is from this quarterback, and he goes, he's not a quarterback. He's a professional football player who throws the ball.
Yeah.
And the point is that he's not dropping back in the pocket, planting the back foot, and letting it go. Okay, he's throwing all these different platforms, which is exactly the same thing that Mahomes does.
Yeah,
so
special player.
They play a different game than most.
Yeah, definitely different than the standard quarterbacks because he's all over the field when he's doing it. He is running the offense though, like quarterbacks should be doing. So, yeah, lots of trust with Andy Reid there. So my cuteness on the Chargers here, you can take them over 9.5 wins if you want. I haven't yet. You could, if you take them to win the division, you're probably going to get 5 or 6-1, which is good, but I don't really want to compete with them. I almost just think betting the Chargers to make the playoffs, if you can get that at plus money somewhere, that's what I would lean. But I don't got nothing too firm in this division, Doug.
Yeah. I actually I had to write an article about 3 weeks ago, and 3 weeks ago the Raiders were 8. okay, on the nose. And I wrote the article that I wrote. It definitely was an underplay on them, and for any number of different reasons. Among them, John Gruden being not the greatest coach as everybody assumes that he is, and his record backs that up at 119 and 114. So I think that they're going to be better in some areas on defense with all the changes they made. But in order to sign the players that they did, they had to make cuts. They made the cuts in the offensive line, and we know how Derek Carr plays under duress. So they have a brutal schedule at the end of the season again. However, the number went from 8 to 7. Okay. And do I think the Raiders are going to win just 6 games? No, I really don't. So I look at them at 7 and 10. So that became a no play. But initially, they certainly would have been a play at under 8.
Doug, you moved the line, man. No one can do it now.
I'm going to go with no on that, but but no. So I appreciate the vote of confidence. So.
You knows, man. I don't know. You're a pretty popular guy. Anyways, I agree with you. 7 wins is kind of where I see them. There's a lot of people fading that. I would not fade the Raiders under 7. Gruden just gets to 7. That's just what he's going to do. And he's going to look at it as kind of like, well, he'll have excuses. He's going to look at his 10-year contract and be like, well, looks like I'm in good shape no matter what. I'm in better shape than coaches that are winning.
Yeah, exactly. He is. You're right.
So not a big deal if he doesn't. So I think this will be Carr's last year as a starting quarterback too. I'm just not seeing it from him, and I think this could be the year it proves itself. So definitely, I'm not taking the over, and definitely not taking the under, because also you have to remember this is their first year of playing in front of a crowd in Las Vegas, where a lot of the other teams will be traveling that first year, to see their team play in Las Vegas and go have a bunch of fun. So
sure,
my opinion is it should be a right on 7. Great stuff, Doug. Anything else that we missed in the NFL?
I can't think of anything. I think we covered a lot of ground, and I think we gave a lot of good options for people to consider if they're placing bets on season win totals. I, like you, am extremely excited to get things going. NFL preseason is always, it's not necessarily fun to watch, but it's fun to follow and start to learning things about teams as you go forward. So yeah, it's get up and go time as far as I'm concerned.
Get up and go. Real quick, is Alabama winning the championship in college football?
Absolutely, maybe.
Great answer. Absolutely, maybe. Absolutely, maybe.
I will say. I'll say this though. With the 4 teams going again, it at least so it appears this year, not going to 12 yet. I think they could certainly win it again, but I'll tell you who Georgia is. I think is really primed to give them a run for their money. They have everything that Alabama does on the field, including having at this moment a better quarterback. So I think Georgia, if those two are in the SEC championship today, I would take Georgia plus the points over Alabama.
Okay, and JT Daniels is better now, but we'll see what Bryce can do, right?
Exactly.
That's going to be the big thing. Yeah, for me, I would say make the playoffs, because when does that not happen?
Right.
I'll take 1-1 on that. I'll take plus 100 if I can find it, that they make the playoffs, because
sounds more like a horse that's the extreme chalk where you're betting it at 1-5.
Yeah, right. And plus they could make the SEC championship with Georgia and lose it and still make it. So how that is. They got a lot of backing there. Well, awesome stuff, Doug. Great job today. Where can our listeners find your great information and plays?
Again, it's Doug Upstone, just like it sounds, at Doc Sports, and you can see my mug there, and go check out all the different stuff. Last year in college football, closed the season 40-22, 64.5%, up 56 units on a scale of 1 to 7 units. In the NFL last year, okay, it went 15 consecutive weeks and had a 34-24 record, picked up 58 units. And to not even talk about football for a second, right now on a 91-66 run in baseball since May 9th, up 76 units. So yes, has it been a very good year? It has, but that's just not my track record. 21 number 1 capping titles and 94 top 10 finishes at third-party monitors. If you need winners, me, Doug Upstone, I'm your guy at Doc Sports. And if you want other great information, you should always listen to this podcast.
Thank you so much, Doug. Really appreciate all your great insights. Make sure you guys check out Doug over at DocSports.com. Have a great rest of your week, Doug.
You as well, my friend.
All right, my friends, now it's time for a little UFC 265. Derek, the Black Beast Lewis versus Cyril Gane. And this is going to be a fun main event. And the good news is, one of the fights that I like from a betting perspective happens to be the main event. So, good news for that. But I'm going to save that one to the end here, right? I'm going to give you at least one more play and talk about a couple other fights on this card with you. So just to start out here, we'll start out with the first play that I'm going to make. And this is the very first fight of the night, right? So get your bet in early. We're talking about Johnny Munoz versus Jamie Simmons, all right? Now, usually the first fights are guys just coming into the UFC, or maybe they just barely fought in the UFC. Munoz is 10-1, okay? 5'9", 28 years old. He fought in the Kings of the Cage Federation before joining the UFC. He was 10-0, and then he joins the UFC, and he loses in a decision to Joe Maness. Now, that's not that bad of a loss, because if you look at Joseph's record, it's 13-1, right? I mean, this guy is a very good fighter. So, went the distance with him, lost in the unanimous decision. That's fine. Now, his opponent, Jamie Simmons, is 7-3. About the same amount of fights here. He's a little shorter, 5'5". Also, he's 28 years old there. And he's a little bit more sporadic. Lost to a much better opponent when he made his UFC debut in November. He lost to Giga Chikadze, and Giga's just much better fighter. So, also can't really punish him too much for it. But what I'm looking at here, more or less, is the total. I mean, first of all, you have Munoz as a -260, -265 favorite. A big favorite here. Jamie Simmons, with his 3 losses, didn't really impress too many people with, he's kind of fought all over the place. Pure FC, caged aggression. Not quite as good a stuff as Munoz has. So they're going to give Munoz a big, favorite role here. Now, if you're not feeling comfortable betting -265, I really don't blame you right there. But what I do is the total in this fight. Now, if you look at Jamie Simmons, every single one of his fights, but 2 out of 10 fights, none of them went past a round and a half. Okay, not one of them. So I find that interesting. He did go to decision twice, but all the other ones didn't go by past a round and a half. Johnny Munoz likes to submit his opponents, 6 submissions, 2 KOs, and only 2 wins by decision. I don't think he loses his fight, but his only loss was, like I said, by decision. So from what I'm seeing, lots of first round submissions that he's gotten, and a few of those also KOs. Guy can do both, right? He's going to score points. Doesn't matter. But what I think is going to happen is that this fight's going to be over quick. These guys trying to make a little bit of a name for themselves, coming into UFC 265 with the early prelims. I think they're going to be throwing a little bit. Now, do I trust Munoz not to get caught in a big dog like Jamie hits at +220? I don't know. I don't trust that quite as much as I like the under 2.5 rounds. Under 2.5 rounds, you're only going to be paying -120, -125. They're a little bit lighter. We're looking at the bantamweight division, 135. which I don't love betting won't go the distance unless it's a situation like this. I think this fight goes quick just because of the track records of these guys and the fact that Munoz is that much better of a fighter. I wouldn't doubt if Munoz did win within the distance here. So we're just going to go under 2.5 rounds at -125 for a star.
Well, I've been with the best, and I beat the best. I've retired more men than Social Security.
All right, looking at more of this card here, some really good fights. Definitely worth buying this one, in my opinion, especially for the main event, right? But you have Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz, and this one is almost at a pick'em. I mean, Aldo is like -115. Munoz is -105. Both of these fighters have fought plenty of fights in the UFC. Aldo, former champion, 29-7, right? Fantastic record. Got his first loss against McGregor back in 2015. Oh my God, that was a long time ago, it feels like now. Then he fought guys like Max Holloway and Volkanovski, and just, his losses are to the best. Peter Yan, right, who should be the champion. Marlon Moraes, he's only lost to the best, right? And then he just beat Marlon Vera back in December here. Another pretty dang good fighter. So, and Vera just beat O'Malley, okay? So that just goes to show you how good Aldo is. Now, Munoz, with his record at 19-5, is not so bad himself, right? 5 KOs, 8 submissions, 6 decisions. The guy's an animal out there. He's beat Jimmy Rivera his last fight in February, actually. And then before they lost to Frankie Edgar and Aljamain Sterling. Very respectable losses. Beat up Cody Garbrandt in the first round. Garbrandt's kind of been worked by some fighters lately. Garbrandt seemed like a lot better fighter a couple years back. Beat guys like Rob Font. Very, very capable fighter. So, I mean, for this one, Aldo feels like he's been around forever, but the truth is, Munoz is a little bit older than Aldo. They're both 34, but Munoz is just, a few months older. He's Brazilian. I wouldn't be completely shocked to see him pull off the upset because his significant strikes at 5.6 landed per minute to Aldo's 3.45. That's pretty big. Takedown accuracy is a little bit better for Aldo. Neither of these guys have submitted in a while. Looking at the numbers here, it looks like the last submission was in 2017 for Munoz, and Jose Aldo's only had one submission his whole career. Long time ago. He's either winning by decision or he's winning by KO, right? So that's important to look at. But from a stand-up perspective, I really have to give it to Aldo, even though he doesn't land as many significant strikes. Aldo's fought in better fighters. He's fought the best of the best. Munoz hasn't, okay? And according to the strike accuracy, Aldo's a little bit higher, 49.46% to 45.87%, okay? I think this fight is going to stay on its feet. And I think that Aldo is definitely the one I'm leaning on. I just find it a little bit hard to trust him with all of the beatdowns he's taking over the past couple years, man. I mean, he is an old 34, 29-7, And so he knows he's probably not going to be fighting for the championship again. Munoz might think he is. So that's what's kind of keeping me off it. But I did want to discuss that fight a little bit. Obviously, the other fight before the main event is another one close to the main event, I guess. It's on the main card with Michael Chiesa versus Vicente Luque. Okay. Chisa is an interesting fighter. He's got a massive ground game. Okay. Massive. But that's it. You know, he's 18-4, 0 KOs, 11 submissions, and 7 decisions. He's going to try to get to the ground immediately. And he's 33 years old. You know, fought some really good fighters. He lost to Anthony Pettis and Kevin Lee, but he won his last 4 in a row. Carlos Condit's pretty good. He beat him. Diego Sanchez, he beat him. And Rafael Dos Anjos, who's been around forever, he was able to beat Dos Anjos in a decision. And Neil Mangy in a decision. You know, so his last 3 fights were actually by decision. So he wasn't able to submit. He's not winning by KO. Vicente Luque, you know, he's more of an all-around fighter. Much better of a technical fighter. 11 KOs, 7 submissions, 2 decisions. So he likes to finish a lot of his fights by KO here. So looking at this fight, the question I have to ask myself, if I'm going to figure out I'm going to have a play, is Vicente going to get submitted? Right? I don't think Chisa wins by decision here. I think he gets hit too much for that to happen. Right? I don't think he can get on top of Vicente, who's 4 years younger, 29, throughout the whole match. You know, that's my concern that I'm weighing there. He's lost by submission twice, but his other losses were 5 decisions. Never been KO'd, right? One thing I find that's a little strange with Chisa is he's never lost in a decision. He's always controlled the fight, right? So, not saying that can't happen. Maybe he's due, and Luque has only won twice by decision. But what I would probably lean more towards, even though Chisa's lost 2 times by submission and only 1 by KO. Actually, he's lost 3 times by submission. I would still lean the KO here, right? Because I think that's Vicente's bread and butter. You know, and I think that he doesn't want to get on the ground with a guy like Chisa. I think he's going to want to stand up and try to keep it stand up, right? And so that's what I would lean with him. You actually can get a really good price both ways on that. Luque by KO is plus 330 at some books. It's also all the way down to plus 275 at some books. That shows me that some people are leaning that way. And Chisa by submission is plus 400. So you could play it both ways that way. My question, like I said, will it go to a decision? You lose both bets if that happens. You have to weigh that really hard. And could Luque actually submit Chisa? So I don't have a play in this. I'm not sure I am. I'm just kind of talking through some of my thought process with this. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be watching some of their replays of some of their past fights because I like to do that many times before I make plays. Now let's get into the main event here. Cyril Gane versus Derek Lewis. And this is going to be fantastic. I mean, Gane came into the scene hyped, but he lived up to that hype, right? You know, he comes in to the UFC submitting Rafael Pessoa, right? Then he submits Don'Tale Mayes, kind of some no names. Then he fights Tanner Boser. And you know how tough Boser is. And he beats Boser by decision, which means he was throwing with him. You know, I mean, he's just a fantastic fighter. I mean, his style is Muay Thai, right? Kickboxing. He's great at it. And that's why he's got so much hype. And that's why he's such a massive minus 320, 350, where it depends on what you're looking at, favorite here. You know, minus 360 at some of these books. Heck, that minus 320 is gone. Yeah, he's definitely been taking some bets. I can see for William Hill, maybe about a month ago, he was minus 270 in this, and now he's up to minus 370. So there you go. People are betting Serial Gone. And Derek Lewis is so hot and cold in his career. It's so weird with this guy. It's like when he steps up to the big competition many times and knocks it out, right? And then he loses some just head scratchers, man. 25-7, Derek Lewis is 36 years old. Only KOs, right? 20 KOs, 1 submission, 4 decisions. Yeah, I actually seen him to go to decision against Ilir Latifi, which I actually think he lost that fight, and kind of at the third round he really started beating on Latifi a little bit. But interesting enough, he won his last 4 in a row. And he fights Blades. He's a dog to Blades, and he just KOs Blades. Boom, KOs him. Right? Blades is a dang good fighter. But his losses, Junior Dos Santos, head scratcher. Dos Santos, a lot older back then, and he's losing to everybody lately. And because it was 2019, it wasn't that long ago. And he lost to Cormier, and that's understandable. Daniel Cormier, the best ground game possibly as any heavyweight in history, got submitted. But then, a couple of years before that, in 2017, I remember he lost to Mark Hunt. I'm like, how do you lose a TKO to freaking Mark Hunt? Are you serious? So weird, And that's, why, it's hard to trust Lewis. But at plus 290, I mean, his KO price is plus 350, plus 360. I've seen it plus 400 in some books. That's interesting, too. I don't know if he can KO Gane. And I don't know if I would take the KO. Maybe. But what I am playing in this is his side. I'm going to play his side at the plus 290 to win, for a 1.5. Just because he has those big rights. It's a great pair. He can knock out anybody if he catches them, including Nagano. As a matter of fact, he beat Nagano back in 2018. That's another one. He beat Francis, right? Volkov he beat. So he's capable. But Gane's smart. Gane is a smart fighter. He's not going to go for the jugular and risk his jaw on this. He's going to beat him technically if he can, getting separation, getting his hits in, try to avoid the big roundhouses and lunges. He's going to use his knees. Hell, maybe he does catch Lewis. But what I've seen with Gane is him go to decision against guys like Jorginho Rosenstrike, right? Against guys like Alexander Volkov. Going to decision. He did take out Junior Dos Santos by KO, but Tanner Boser before that, decision, right? So when he stepped up in class, he was smart about it. And that's what I'm thinking he could do. If you bet Serial Gane wins by decision, you get plus 200. So you win either way. I'm playing that for a 1.5 too. I was really close to putting a couple bucks on Derek Lewis by KO as well, but I'd have to probably try to even it out. The problem with Gane, maybe he does catch Derek Lewis, right? Derek Lewis has been KO'd, like I said, 4 times. If Derek gets too aggressive and throws his jaw out there, he's going to get kneed. He's going to get kneed because Gane can throw some serious knees. I haven't seen a fighter in the heavyweight division shoot up as fast as Serial Gane. You're going to see him fight Nagano pretty quick here if he wins this fight. But that's my concern. And the price for Gane by KO, I think it was like plus 130. Not that good, right? Let's take a look here. Gane, of course, my computer's freezing. Gane by KO, plus 138, plus 130, plus 125. Not good, right? It's hard to take that as well because you're just really cutting into your profit then, if he wins by plus 200. Of course, you can balance your bets and go a little bit less on the plus 290 with Derek Lewis. You could do that. But hell, there's a chance that Derek Lewis wins this by decision too if he's just hitting Gane more often and Gane's backing away. You never know with these judges. So that's what takes me off Derek Lewis by KO. But what I am definitely playing here in the main event, Gane wins by decision or points, whatever you want to call it, listed differently at different places, plus 200. And Derek Lewis wins straight up plus 290. Doesn't matter how he wins, for a star and a half on each side. My friends, if you have any other questions, please feel free to tweet us at the Odds Breakers. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy these amazing fights. We're going to have some premium plays for our premium members for these fights as well. And go get some winners.